Get ready for another microdose. And hey, if this information is jiving with you, then check out the full episode. The link is in the show notes. Enjoy the ride.
And in the book, you talk about, and I'm going to forget her name, but she was a young lady from Sri Lanka. Her family had come over and they
Anula.
Yes. They put a lot of pressure on her to become a doctor, but she was struggling with, the entrance exams to medical school and then was struggling, I believe, once she got there or maybe before. But then you mentioned in the book, she kind of changed her mindset. And rather than trying to manifest doing well on her exams or doing well in school as a whole, she manifested, I want to become a doctor because I want to serve other people. And you talk about in the book how important that piece is in manifesting. Now, I'm not saying that we should say, well, I want to be a millionaire, so how can I become a millionaire through serving other people? That shouldn't be the end state. But by serving other people, we can, in fact, manifest a lot of these things into our lives. Can you talk about the importance of that serving others?
Sure. No, and I think she's an excellent example. So she was a young lady who family, because of the turmoil in Sri Lanka at the time, and they were middle class, if not above middle class in their country. They came here, and what happens, unfortunately, to so many immigrants is they realize that the roads are not paved with gold. And her mother had to take a low-level job in a nursing home. Her father, I think, drove a taxi. And you can imagine how demoralizing that can be also if you've been in a, reasonable position in your home country. And, many of us, our sense of who we are oftentimes relates to our profession. But her parents placed an inordinate amount of pressure on her to become successful, to become a doctor, which is common in many cultures outside of the U.S. as well. And so she felt that the pressure was on her because she not only had to become this thing, which defined in her parents' eyes, but this was also critical to their survival as a family. So this immense pressure she was putting on herself actually caused her to fail because it was through the fear mode. If I don't do this, this is going to happen. Oh my goodness, I have to do well on this test. As a result, she could not concentrate. She could not function. She was in many ways paralyzed. Now, the way she contacted me, and I have to say this has happened multiple times, is many students who want to go to medical school who've been rejected many times more than once read my book and they say, oh my gosh, he has the answer here, and reach out to me. And while I can't respond to everyone who does that, in this case I did. And I spent a period of time working with her and made her understand that if she wants to be a doctor, it doesn't matter what her parents want. It doesn't matter that she has this pressure. What she needs to focus on is, what does a doctor do? A doctor helps people. And she understood the change in perception that was ultimately necessary. She wanted to be of service, not to appease her parents' desires. And the change in her mindset was actually profound. It allowed her to no longer be focused on failing her test, but to be energized by the thought of becoming a doctor to be of service and help people. Long story short, she ended up doing very well on her exams. I also wrote her a letter of recommendation. She ended up going to medical school. She's now graduated from medical school and is in a psychiatry residency and doing very well. But she understood this idea of calmness, of accepting yourself, of not being influenced by chasing something that's not going to give you the sustenance that is what all of us need to be our best selves. And so, and there are several other stories in the book. In fact, there's a story which I shared about Jim Carrey, the comedian actor, which is also quite powerful. But so much of what is in this book is about your ability to liberate yourself from the limiting beliefs that have been created through the baggage that you end up carrying in your life that defines who you are or who you are not.
Yeah, I like in both of these cases with Anula and Jim Carrey, they're kind of brought to that place where they needed to realize, wait, what's the higher purpose here? Like, what am I really going after? And even in Jim Carrey's case with how he really unlocked his ability to really connect meaningfully with any audience was that whole question is like, what do they want? Like, what do they want? And he kept like asking that question over and over until it like really hit him. They want to be free, I think is what you wrote in the book. Yeah. Why is, that connecting to a higher purpose? Like, how does that help us to manifest? Like, is the energy of it, like, obviously we're helping. Like, how does that also unlock our ability to kind of manifest instead of it just being about me, which you talked about yourself? Like when you weren't open to the heart, you're able to manifest, but you're still, really kind of empty and just acquiring all sorts of different things, all sorts of different wealth. But then when you turned it around, everything started to change for you because you were working towards that higher purpose to serve other people.
No,
how does it work?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Again, we talked about how brain networks function. And when you're in a fear mode, when you're saying, I want people to like me, I want to be a success in my position as a comedian or whatever, I feel they need this, I'm going to give them this. And it's coming from, I believe they need this, or I want to do this, versus understanding what people really want. And I think each of those people ended up understanding
thanks for joining us on this journey. Small doses lead to big changes. If you're vibing with this snippet, then take a listen to the full episode by clicking the link in the show notes. If you would like to plug in deeper to what we're doing, head to mentalkingmindfulness.com or text MTM to 33777. Until next time, peace.